Greece, a civilization that has always fascinated historians. A civilization that rose from the ashes of the Bronze Age to become one of the most influential powers in the world. At its peak, Greece was a beacon of innovation and culture that spanned the Mediterranean, a civilization that was not afraid to question, to explore, and to dream. It was the birthplace of democracy, the home of great philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. It was the same ancient society that founded the Olympic Games. The Greeks' influence was so far-reaching that it touched every aspect of life, from the way we think to the way we live. But just as the sun must set, so too must all great empires. The seeds of Greece's decline were sown at the height of its glory, but the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Today we will discuss the rise and fall of Greece. Did it fall to war within itself? Or was Rome's inevitable rise too much for Greece to handle? Stay tuned to find out. It's only right we start with one man specifically responsible for the great rise of Greece, turning it into an empire during the years of his reign, spanning from 336 BC to 323 BC. This was no other than the well-known figure, Alexander the Great. Born from the Macedonian king Philip II, Alexander was an exceptional prodigy, tutored by none other than the philosopher Aristotle. He showed an extraordinary knack for leadership from a young age and harbored insatiable ambition. This led him to launch a historic military campaign across Asia and Northeast Africa. By the age of 30, he had forged one of the largest empires on earth, stretching from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India. During his leadership, Alexander conquered the Greek city-states, the Persian Empire, and founded more than 70 cities, creating an empire that stretched across 3 continents and covered about 2 million square miles. This being the pinnacle for ancient Greece, more specifically the Macedonian Empire. They didn't call Alexander the Great for no reason. Personally, I find it interesting that Alexander had never lost a battle in his life. However, through the fame and success, Alexander was still a mortal man. In the summer of 323 BCE, at the zenith of his power, Alexander the Great's 13 years' reign as the Macedonian king would suddenly end in the city of Babylon. There are many speculations circulating his death. The description about his death from the royal diaries are consistent with typhoid fever or malaria, which was rampant in ancient Babylon. Accounts claim that on his deathbed he was asked, "Who shall have the empire?" in which he responded, "To the strongest." As you could imagine, his demise left behind a sprawling empire without a clear successor. Greece, lacking its key figure, was left in a precarious state. Alexander's generals, known as the Diadochi, fought for power, each coveting a part of the vast territory. The once unified empire fragmented into several Hellenistic states, each governed by a different general. This fragmentation marked the beginning of internal conflicts, becoming the start of a decline. Yet, however significant the death of Alexander was, it was not the only factor that led to the fall of Greece. As the Greek Empire fragmented, the seeds of its decline were sown. With the death of Alexander the Great, the once mighty Greek Empire began to slowly crumble. As I stated earlier, the empire was divided amongst his generals, who struggled to maintain power. This led to the wars of the Diadochi, which lasted for several decades. This constant warring weakened Greece as a whole, making it more vulnerable to external threats. But the problems didn't stop there. Within the city-states, another conflict was brewing. The poorer classes in Greece were growing tired of the aristocracy and the wealthy. They began to rebel, demanding rights and representation. This led to further instability and conflict within the city-states, chaos becoming too much for the government to handle. On top of this, the Greek colonies, forged by the former Alexander the Great during his conquests, were on the verge of rebellion. These colonies, scattered across the Mediterranean, were nowhere near being strong allies. The colonies had their own interests and were often more concerned with their own survival than with the fate of Greece. Oh, I almost forgot to mention one important thing. All while this was happening, a new power was rising in the West, a republic known for its military prowess and its ambition to expand. This, of course, was no other than Rome. As Greece weakened, Rome grew stronger. Make no mistake, Rome had its eye on Greece, and it was waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike, like a thief in the night. While Greece was embroiled in internal conflict, a new power was emerging in the West. This power was none other than the Roman Republic. Rome, at the time, was not the gigantic empire we normally think it to be. Instead, was a rapidly growing republic, driven by the ambition of its leaders and the strength of its legions. Rome's rise was not an accident. The Romans were astute observers of the world around them, and they saw in Greece something to admire, something to emulate. Even before they set foot in Greece, the Romans were deeply influenced by its culture. They borrowed heavily from Greek art, philosophy, and political ideas, incorporating them into their own society. The Romans saw in Greece a model of civilization, and they sought to surpass it. But admiration did not imply submission. Rome had its own ambitions, and they were territorial. Rome, like Greece, was not unified at first. It was a collection of city-states, each with its own government and military. But the Romans managed to unite these city-states under a single banner, creating a powerful and efficient military machine. As Rome grew more powerful, the Greeks started to see Rome as a threat. In 215 BC, parts of Greece allied with Carthage against Rome. Rome, to no surprise, declared war on Macedonia, northern Greece. They defeated Macedonia at the Battle of Sinoskephalae in 197 BC. The Greek city-states, weakened by internal strife and constant warfare, were no match for the disciplined Roman legions. Then, in 168 BC, Macedonia lost yet again at the Battle of Pydna. The Macedonian king Perseus was drawn out from his strong position on the Elpius River to a weaker position in the plain south of Pydna. The Roman legions, led by General Lucius Macedonicus, exploited this tactical error, leading to the end of the Macedonian monarchy and the division of Macedonia into 4 republics. With each victory, Rome was solidifying its place as the new dominant power in the Mediterranean. Rome continued its conquest of Greece, grabbing land 1 mile at a time. The Battle of Corinth, the final struggle in the long drawn-out war between Rome and Greece, was a vivid testament to the changing times. The Romans, under the leadership of their consul Lucius Mummius, brought to the battlefield a force that was not only numerically superior, but also strategically prepared. The Greek forces, on the other hand, were a ragtag army of disparate city-states, their unity in question, their morale low. As the two forces clashed in Corinth, it was clear that the Greeks were no match for the Roman legions. The Romans, with their superior tactics and disciplined formations, cut through the Greek lines like a plow through a field. The Greeks fought valiantly, but their disunity and lack of strategic planning were their downfall. The city of Corinth fell to the Romans, marking the end of Greek dominance in the ancient world. The aftermath of the battle was devastating. Corinth was razed to the ground, its people sold into slavery, its treasures taken to Rome. This decisive victory marked the end of the Greek city-states as independent entities. They fell under Roman control, their once proud cities reduced to mere provinces of the expanding Roman Republic. This transition of power from Greece to Rome was not just a military conquest, but a cultural shift as well. The Romans admired Greek culture and were greatly influenced by it. They saw the Greeks not as defeated enemies, but as partners in creating a new era of civilization. Greek culture, philosophy, and art found a new home in Rome, ensuring their survival and influence for centuries to come. The Battle of Corinth marked the end of an era for Greece and the beginning of Roman dominance. The fall of Greece and the rise of Rome, a pivotal turning point in world history. The rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of power. It's a recurring theme in our history. Today, as we look back, we marvel at the resilience of humanity, the lessons learned, and the legacy left behind by these great civilizations. Greece was one of the ancient civilizations that could have stood a chance against Rome. That is, if they weren't so divided as an empire. But then again, you can say that to be the case for many other historical instances. The Republic of Rome was destined to expand by any means necessary to become the empire we all knew it to be. In conclusion, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you are new around here because we upload videos at least once a week. Like and comment down below any takes you had on the video. As always, till next time.